I used to think the worst decisions came from moments of chaos, from panic and screaming and slammed doors. But my biggest regret started on a calm Sunday afternoon, with sunlight on polished granite and my stepmom smiling like she had every answer I'd ever need. My name is Rachel Moore. I'm 27 years old. And this is the story of how my stepmom's perfect advice cost me something I can never get back. If you enjoy real-life stories like mine, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. When people meet my stepmom, they always say the same thing. Julia is incredible. You're so lucky to have her. She's the kind of woman who brings color-coded salads to potlucks and gives speeches about owning your narrative. She hugs everyone, remembers birthdays, and fills social media with soft quotes and bright smiles. My mom and dad divorced when I was 9. My mom, Diana, was messy and late for everything. She spilled coffee on her blouses and cried at commercials. She loved me loudly with big gestures and clumsy apologies. Julia was the opposite. When she married my dad 3 years after the divorce, she came into our lives like a lifestyle upgrade. Suddenly, there were chore charts on the refrigerator and Sunday planning meetings. Julia never raised her voice. Disappointment from her felt worse than screaming from anyone else. Feelings are important, but strategy is everything, she used to tell me, tapping her manicured finger against her mug. Smart women don't react. They position themselves. By 27, I was living in Charlotte, working as a marketing coordinator and engaged to a man named Ethan. We met at a conference when we both reached for the same stale muffin. He joked about fighting me for it, then let me win. Later, I found a fresh muffin and a note that said, "Upgrade."
E.
That was Ethan. Thoughtful, quietly funny. The kind of man who noticed when my shoulders tensed in a crowded room and steered me outside for air. We got engaged after 2 years. He cooked dinner in my tiny apartment, burned the garlic bread, and proposed with the ring he'd secretly designed with my best friend. It was imperfect and real and felt like home. One Saturday, Ethan and I were at the kitchen table surrounded by wedding brochures and my student loans lurking in the background like a silent threat. "I've been thinking," Ethan said, closing his laptop, "about the house. We'd been planning to rent for a couple years, then buy. It was practical, boring, safe. What about it?" I asked. "What if we buy now?" he said. "The interest rates are decent. I've been promoted. You're up for a raise. We could make it work." The idea made my chest expand with something like hope. A house, a real one. Our own space with walls we could paint without asking permission. Then he added carefully, "And I think we should talk about a prenuptial agreement." The word hit me like a slap. A prenup. I knew what Julia would say about that. She'd said it about 3 other women in our circle. "If he really loved you, he wouldn't need legal protection from you," she'd whispered over cheese boards and sparkling water. Partnership is trust. Ethan saw my face change and reached for my hand. "Rach, hey, this isn't about not trusting you. It's about protecting us both. You've got loans. I've got family property from before we met. I want everything clear so money never becomes a weapon between us." His words were reasonable, caring even. But reason didn't stand a chance against the voice in my head I'd been listening to for almost 15 years, Julia's voice. Strategy is everything. Don't let people tell you who you are. Watch what they do. In my mind, Ethan wasn't setting boundaries. He was slipping a quiet insult between lines of legal language. "You're a risk. You're someone I might need protection from." That night, I drove to my dad and Julia's house under the pretense of dropping off a box of old yearbooks. Really, I wanted someone to tell me I wasn't crazy for feeling betrayed. Julia was at the kitchen island when I arrived, cutting strawberries with precise, practiced movements. She wore a pale blue blouse that made her look like a calm ocean you could drown in. "Hey, honey," she said, kissing my cheek. "You look tense. Sit, tell me everything." So I did. I told her about the house, the prenup, the way the word had lodged in my throat like a fishbone. I didn't say how small it made me feel. I didn't need to. She heard it anyway. She always did. Julia listened without interrupting, her knife moving in neat strokes. When I finished, she set it down and gave me a sympathetic look. "Oh, sweetheart," she said softly. "I'm so glad you came to me before you made any decisions. He's not a bad person," I said. It just feels like he's planning for us to fail. She nodded slowly. Of course it does. Because that's what a prenup is, Rachel. It's a document written from the assumption that love is temporary and money is forever. He keeps saying it's about protecting both of us, I added. He sounds so reasonable. Julia tilted her head. Has he pushed this more than once? When I nodded, she sighed. Then believe what he's showing you. A prenup is leverage for someone who wants options. My stomach turned. He said he wanted everything clear so money never became a weapon. Remember who actually has assets, she said. On paper, you're the one with debt. If anything went wrong, that contract would shield him, not you. I pictured courtrooms, documents, my name under some cold heading I didn't fully understand. I don't want to assume things will get ugly, I whispered. That's why you use strategy instead of panic, she replied. You don't have to accuse him. You just need to be clear about your standards. You tell him calmly that a prenup is a deal breaker. No tears, no drama. The right man will choose you over paperwork. It sounded simple, like a test. What about the house? I asked. He wants to buy now. If you're both paying, both names go on the deed from day one, she said. And any time he hands you paperwork, you quietly copy it. Paper trail is power. A second later, she texted me the name of an attorney who'll look out for you, not him. On the drive home, her words looped in my head, tangled with memories of my mom crying over bills while my dad moved on to a nicer life. When I walked into our apartment, Ethan was on the couch with his laptop open and a spreadsheet glowing on the screen.
He looked up, relief softening his face. Hey, he said.
How was your dad's? Fine, I said, dropping my keys in the bowl. We need to talk. His shoulders tightened. Okay, what's going on? I sat across from him so I wouldn't be tempted to cave. I've thought about the prenup, I said. I'm not signing one. He closed the laptop slowly. Rachel, I'm serious, I cut in. I am not starting our marriage by assuming we'll hurt each other someday. If you need legal protection from me, maybe we shouldn't be getting married. He stared at me, searching my face. It's not about protection from you, he said quietly. It's about protecting things my grandparents left me if something catastrophic happened. I'm trying to be responsible. Responsible would be trusting me, I said. Responsible would be building a life where we don't stand on opposite sides of a lawyer's desk. Where is this coming from? He asked. Last week you said you'd think about it. Now it sounds like you rehearsed this in the car. The accuracy of that made my face burn. I did think about it, I replied. I decided I deserved to feel safe. Okay, he said slowly. Then what about sitting down with a lawyer together? We write something that protects us both. You keep your retirement. I keep my family property. Everything else is split. No hidden clauses. Just clarity. Julia's voice rose in my mind like a warning siren. If he really loved you, he wouldn't need this. I told you what I'm comfortable with, I said. No prenup. And if we buy a house, my name goes on the deed from the start, 50-50. That's non-negotiable. Something in his face hardened. That sounds less like a partnership and more like a list of conditions, he said. Like you're walking into this assuming I'm going to screw you over. I didn't tell him the truth. That deep down I assumed everyone would, eventually.
He didn't end the engagement that night. We slept stiffly, backs turned.
In the morning, he made coffee in silence while I scrolled my phone and watched one of Julia's videos autoplay. Strong women don't beg for security. They create it. Sitting there in his t-shirt, I decided I'd rather be strong than scared. For the first time, I trusted her voice more than I trusted his. The weeks after that conversation felt subtly wrong, like someone had moved all the furniture half an inch to the left. Ethan tried. I know that now.
He sent me articles about fair prenups, suggested we list our money fears.
Asked if I'd go with him to a lawyer, just to ask questions. Every time he brought it up, Julia's voice floated over his like a caption. This is leverage. Remember who actually has assets. One night, after another circular argument, Ethan sat on the edge of the bed and said, We keep talking about us, but it feels like you're arguing with someone who isn't here. Who hurt you like this, Ratch? I almost told him everything about Julia and what she'd taught me about security. Instead, I just said, I'm trying not to end up like my mom. He looked at me with so much gentleness it hurt. You're not your mom, he said. And I'm not your dad. I wanted to believe him. But the part of me that trusted Julia had a longer history than the part that trusted him. She called the next afternoon while I sat in my car outside the grocery store. I told her he kept pushing the prenup, promising we could design it together. That's because he's planning for failure, she said. If you cave now, you teach him he can push you until you break. Is that the marriage you want? No, I whispered. Then stop reacting and get ahead of it, she said. House first, contract later. If you're both paying, both names go on the deed from day one. And any time he hands you paperwork, you quietly copy it. Paper trail is power. A second later, she texted me the name of an attorney who'll look out for you, not him. Here's where things really started to unravel. A few days later, we toured a small 3-bedroom with terrible wallpaper and a decent backyard. It needs work, Ethan said, walking through with that focused, hopeful look. But I can see it. Me too, I said, and I meant it. In the car afterward, rain blurred the windows. I talked to my bank, he said. If I move some funds and use part of my inheritance for the down payment, we could swing this. Your income helps with approval, but the cash would be coming from me. So whose name would be on the house? I asked. At first mine, he said. It's tied to assets I already have. We could add you later. It's just cleaner on paper. Julia's words snapped into place. You are not donating your paycheck into an asset that legally belongs only to him. I'm not okay with that, I said. If we're both paying, both of our names go on the deed. From the start, I'm trying to make this work, Rachel, he said, drumming his fingers on the wheel. It feels like you're waiting for me to screw you over. I'm trying to protect myself, I said. Everyone says I should, he didn't answer. His jaw worked like he was chewing words. A week later, I found a folder on the desk in our spare room labeled Trust Documents. I knew I should walk away. Instead, I opened it. Inside were account statements and property lists, pages of numbers linked to his name. There was also an outline of a prenup his family lawyer had drafted years before we met, with blank spaces for the name of a future spouse. My chest burned. I took photos of the pages with shaking hands. That afternoon, I drove to the office of the attorney Julia had recommended. Her waiting room smelled like coffee and toner. I slid my phone across the desk. I need to know what this would mean for me, I said.
If I marry him?
She scrolled through the images, her expression tightening. I can already tell you this wasn't drafted with your interests in mind, she said. We'd need to negotiate hard to make it fair. On the way home, my guilt finally caught up with me, but I shoved it aside. Strategy, not panic. That's what Julia would say. When I walked into the apartment, Ethan was at the dining table. The same folder sat in front of him, perfectly centered.
He didn't stand up when he saw me. Rachel, he said quietly.
Did you open this? My throat went dry. You left it out, I said. I was curious. He picked up one of the pages and turned it so I could see the tiny logo of the attorney Julia had sent me to. Curious is one thing, he said. Taking copies to your own lair behind my back is another. For a moment after he said it, I thought I could talk my way out. I just wanted to understand what I was walking into, I said. You left the folder out. You keep saying you want transparency. I thought that went both ways. Ethan stared at me. Transparency isn't taking my family's legal documents to some attorney your stepmom picked, he said. That's espionage, Rachel. The word landed harder than I expected. I didn't change anything, I protested. I just asked what it meant. He leaned back in the chair, eyes red-rimmed and tired. Do you hear yourself? You don't trust me enough to ask me directly, but you trust Julia enough to hand over my financial life to someone she knows? She was just looking out for me, I said. He gave a short, humorless laugh. No, she's teaching you to treat me like an opponent. Half the time it feels like I'm arguing with her, not you. That's not fair, I said. She saw what my mom went through. She doesn't want that for me, and I don't want what my mom went through, he shot back. She spent 20 years married to a man who hid every bank password. I promised I'd never be that guy, so I suggested we build something clear together. Instead, you turned me into the villain in someone else's story. I opened my mouth to argue and then closed it again. I thought about the school I chose because Julia said it had better networking, the internship she arranged. The holidays I skipped with my mom because consistency is important for kids. So much of my life had followed her script. Do you really think she wants what's best for me? I asked, hearing the tremor in my own voice.
He hesitated. I think she wants control, he said.
And I think she's very good at making control feel like protection. That night, he slept on the couch. In the morning, his suitcase waited by the door. I'm going to stay with my brother for a while, he said. We can talk after we've both had time to think. How long is a while? I asked. I don't know, he said. But I can't marry someone who talks to a lawyer before she talks to me. When the door closed, the apartment felt like someone had turned the sound down on my life. Here's where everything finally broke open. I called Julia first. He found out, I said, about the attorney.
He's staying with his brother.
She was silent for a beat. Well, she said, at least you know now. Better to see his true colors before you sign anything. His true colors are that he's hurt, I said. Because I went behind his back. And why did you feel you had to do that? She countered. Because he kept pushing something you were clearly uncomfortable with. That's not partnership, Rachel. That's pressure. You protected yourself, and I'm proud of you. Her pride scraped against my guilt. I couldn't stop replaying the look on Ethan's face. She sounded almost satisfied. Julia, I said, what would have made you happy here? Him dropping the prenup, or us breaking up. Of course I wanted it to work, she said, but only if it was healthy for you. And from everything you've told me, it wasn't. Everything I'd told her had cast her as the savior and Ethan as the problem. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet for a long time. Then I called my mother. Diana answered on the fourth ring. Rachel, what's wrong? He left, I said. Ethan left. Come over, she said immediately. I'll put coffee on. Her apartment was smaller than my dad's house, cluttered and cozy. She hugged me like she hadn't seen me in years. At her tiny kitchen table, I told her everything: the prenup, the house, Julia's advice, the folder, the lawyer. When I finished, my mom was quiet for a long moment. Okay, she said. First, I'm sorry. That's a lot. And second, none of this surprises me. I frowned. What do you mean? I mean, she said gently, this isn't the first time Julia's perfect advice has cost you something you love. Her words landed with a weight that felt older than Ethan, tugging at memories I'd buried from the early years after the divorce. On the drive home from my mom's, her last sentence replayed in my head. This isn't the first time Julia's advice cost you something you love. I thought of being 12 and choosing to spend fewer nights at my mom's because Julia said I needed stability. 18, signing loan papers for the expensive college she pushed. 23, turning down a job near my mom because Julia knew someone important near Charlotte. Her voice had been the background music of my life for so long I'd mistaken it for my own. For the first time, I heard the difference. Over the next week, I did something new. I didn't call Julia. I called a therapist instead and said, I don't know where my choices end and my stepmom's begin, and it just cost me my relationship. She didn't tell me what to do. She helped me admit one awful, simple answer: I needed to apologize to Ethan without trying to fix anything. We met in a small park near his brother's place. I'm not here to argue about prenups or houses, I said. I just owe you the truth, I told him, briefly, about Julia's influence and my fear. About choosing secret strategy instead of an honest conversation. I took your documents to that lawyer because I was scared, I said. You deserved honesty, not evidence. I'm sorry.
He was quiet for a long time. I believe you, he said.
But I can't build a marriage with someone who gathers proof against me instead of talking to me. I loved you. I still want good things for you. I just can't be one of them. We said goodbye with no grand scene. Just two people who might have worked in another version of our lives. My biggest regret isn't losing him. It's realizing how much I helped the loss along. The last piece I could control was my relationship with Julia. I went to my dad's house on a quiet Thursday. We sat at the same kitchen island where she'd once told me smart women position themselves. I know you think you've been protecting me, I said. But your version of protection has come with a cost I'm done paying. You turned my mom into a warning label. You called control stability. You taught me to collect leverage instead of having hard conversations. And I used that on the man I loved until he left. She winced. I didn't make you do that. No, I said. I did. But I learned the pattern from you. And I'm not following it anymore. So what does that mean? She asked. You're cutting me off. It means I'm setting boundaries, I said. I'm going to therapy. I'm rebuilding things with mom, and I'm not coming to you for life decisions while I learn my own voice. Maybe someday we'll have a different kind of relationship. Right now, I need distance. Her eyes filled. After everything I've done for you? After everything, I said. I'm choosing me. We didn't hug. I walked out of the house I'd once called the safe option and realized my legs were shaking, but they were carrying me anyway. It's been a year since then. On paper, my life looks less perfect than the version Julia imagined. I still rent. I'm still paying off loans. There's no ring, no marble kitchen. But I really sleep better. I call my mom on Wednesdays just because. I meet with my therapist and practice saying I'm scared directly to the people I love. I've stopped asking, what would Julia think? And started asking, what do I actually want? Here's what I've learned. Strategy isn't the enemy of love. Fear disguised as strategy is. Boundaries are healthy. Secret tests and hidden evidence are not. And anyone whose advice consistently pulls you away from your people or your own instincts may not be protecting you as much as they claim. Family should be about support, not control. Love should be about honesty, not leverage. Your worth is not determined by how secure you look to someone else. If you recognize yourself in my story, if you've ever traded your own voice for someone else's, perfect guidance, know that you're allowed to take it back. You're allowed to question, to set limits, to choose differently, even if the person advising you insists it's for your own good. You're the one who has to live with the outcome, not them. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you feel safe sharing, tell us in the comments about a time you realized someone's advice was costing you more than it was protecting you. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to start trusting their own voice again.